Open court basketball at the community center was a great thing when I was a kid. It was right like downtown. They had pool tables upstairs. They had the Olympics playing in a day room in there. That was the first time I ever saw the Olympics. The community center was a great place to be. Nobody ever touched me in an inappropriate way. I talk about these places, but no. I was just looking at a thing from a couple to a few days ago that I did. Something about God, probably. And I see they were talking about were talking about something that involved a janitor. It was that episode from Amazing Stories. And I talked about how I would have always liked to have been a janitor. Just the time to yourself to think, to just move along. And, well, anybody gives you trouble, there's always the fucking chain, the fucking boiler room. Nobody will ever fucking miss a troublemaker. And it made me think of Tom, the brother of the guy that worked in the cage at the community center. He was a bit slow. But as long as I'd known him, and when I'd go to the community center, the guy that was his brother, I don't remember his name, he wasn't around church much. He would say, "Oh yeah, that is my brother over there," and it's, yeah, I just remembered the last name, no reason to say it. The guy's like creeping death, like Lurch, walking around the fucking churchyard. But he was the maintenance guy at the church, and he was a bit slow. He never had so much to say, but every once in a while he would smile, and it would get creepy when he did it. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But then thinking about Tom being the maintenance guy, the brother of the fucking guy at the community center, that was just such a lovable place, more lovable than church. It was more of a church to me. And if I'm going to be going to a church, I'd appreciate having somebody with a brain in their head in the cage. And then it made me think of my aunt. She died today at 2:19 p.m. this afternoon. My dad's only sister. And so she's obviously special amongst us. That reminds me, I have to call my other uncle, both uncles. Yeah, she went today. And it was the church that made me think of that. The maintenance, the janitor. And then, because I thought of her, I also thought of the first of my dad's siblings to go. And that was my uncle. And he, happened to be, as I was thinking about it, he had like scarlet fever or something as a kid, and he was like crippled, disabled, to the point that when he got stronger again, my dad always complained about it. All he does, he sits on the wagon listening to his Detroit Tigers games on his radio he got. He had this little radio. He never worked. Yeah. So he took advantage of that. And then he'd always come around and he'd do old Polak jokes, that's what I call it. What my dad would say, and you're going to start making connections. I do them too. Just the same old jokes sometimes. And you go, oh, well. You just, yeah. And everybody that's ever heard it is like 108, 109, 110. It just keeps going. One day to the next, from the first day you heard the joke, you're going to hear it over and over again. That's an old Polak joke. Not a Polak joke, an old Polak joke. It's what old Polacks do. And because they keep getting reinforced every time they're with a new person that hasn't heard the joke, they nothing wrong with a little head. And the people go, and all the while, there's Victoria going, and she's not yet. I'm trying to keep this thing in check. I don't want to get too old too fast. But she's over there going, oh yeah. She sees the joke coming from a mile away. But in that case, you can only hope, because there's nothing you can do about it, but you do have faith that something good can come out of it. That she's paying more attention to the reaction of the innocent than she's paying attention to the fact that you told the same damn joke every day. Fucking, yeah. So that's my uncle, the one that died first, that had scarlet fever and got out of work because of it. And just sat on the wagon listening to the fucking game. No wonder my dad doesn't like sports. Not only did he not get to play them because he was too busy on the farm, but he also had to fucking watch somebody not do a goddamn thing because they had to listen to the game and they were fucking disabled. His body wasn't disabled anymore. It was his mind. And as an older man, he'd come around, he'd do these things, old Polak jokes. He'd do a 5-minute rant. This is Sergeant, and he'd do a 38 fucking letter name to his sergeant badge number, and he'd go on. And one time I felt bad. I was just like, just cut it out. What do you want? That's one of my lines. What do you want? People think it sounds rude, but let's get to the point. We can laugh later. Don't we have business to take care of? Don't distract me. I'm easily distracted, and you know it. So then I thought about that uncle, and I said, you know what? This fucker, he had no kids, no wife. I'm pretty sure he died a virgin. It's like it blocks up in there. It fucking takes away your fucking free thought. If all this shit's building up and clogging, I wonder how many fucking, oh shit, I just forgot the word. I think I need to get a line. Alzheimer's, plaques. How plaque plaques in Alzheimer's patients are due to the fact it's all building up and coagulating and sticking to the walls and blocking free thinking. As much as he never did it, I'm sure he was thinking about it all the time. That's why my other uncle said, you got to get out of the house when my grandpa died and my other uncle bought the farm. Get out. I don't know what he was doing in there. He probably painted the walls. Wow, they were cooking dinner. And so, think about him. He went to work for the church. Whether he was mentally disabled by an incapacity for intellect, or if it was because he was fucked up from childhood. He was one of these other fucked up people working for the church, and he didn't have kids, didn't have a wife. left everything to the church as far as we know. What did they do for him? And it makes me think, why is it? Oh, see? You should have been paying attention. We're getting to the point right now. I figured I'd give you a second to light a cigarette. Why is it that the church likes Tom? Why is it the church likes my uncle? Why is it they like quiet people that just grin every once in a while or just grin all the time and fucking spout shit out? Why is it that they've got these mentally incapacitated people working in the church? They're getting hired by the clergy. The clergy knows that the innocence of stupidity will allow them to get away with something. These guys, they were like that from childhood, and they're probably open to it. That's why. And I feel terrible saying it. Maybe my uncle wasn't a virgin after all, in the end. But it's because my aunt died today. And, because there's nothing wrong with being a janitor.